What's up, Route Shop Talk? So today I've got Mike Cray. He is not from the vehicle wrap industry, but I felt that his presence would be very important and a lot of his information. He's a recruiter, essentially, and he helps people place very high-level employees inside of businesses daily. And we were at the Real Business Owners Mastermind, and I was like, you know what? I think the vehicle wrap guys need to hear some of this stuff. He actually helped Dan Workman with Wrap Shop Academy place his most recent hire. And there's just a lot of value. And one of the number one problems that we experience in our industry, as far as like when we say, hey, how can we help? It's, I can't find good help. So I feel like this will be a massive information that you guys can utilize for strategy, et cetera, to implement into your hiring processes. So,
Perfect.
Mike, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hey Brent, so I run a staffing agency that's usually focused around engineering and design placements, so high level management roles as well. Been in the industry for close to 20 years now. Went out and started my own thing a couple years ago, and just dig into helping companies find the best talent out there, and be more than happy to explore the way that we go about it on the back end. So,
Awesome. Well, what are some of the most common pitfalls that you see just in general conversations, not even so much from the professional essence, but like, like even here, like you're talking to people, what are typically the most common pitfalls that people kind of come across in just hiring in general?
yeah, not finding the right talent, not going down the right avenues to find that talent, and I think one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of companies face is not reacting as quickly as they should when they do find the right talent or that comes across their desk.
So essentially not like either asking for the interview or asking for the hire or,
Yeah, putting together an offer as soon as they've identified the person, kind of hemming and hawing about it. Um, you know, Seeing what else is out there. Good talent goes away very quickly. So you really want to capitalize quickly if you do, identify that person for sure.
so I guess then would you say that most businesses and as a whole are underprepared for the person that they actually kind of want or desire?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of confusion that comes with businesses next hire. So they want a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And, you know, I think a lot, especially smaller businesses that I work with, are a little unsure of
Yeah.
what they want. So I try to coach them in a sense on, really understanding what's going to move the needle for the team, and also some of the pitfalls that they're maybe dealing with currently, and what the current team's lacking, to really identify what they're actually looking for in that individual, and the hiring process goes a lot smoother at that point.
I got you. So just having some form of hiring process in itself, like
Correct.
I've heard it from Trevor, for example, when they were trying to find a CEO for their business, they were just like, we're just trying to find a CEO.
Sure.
They didn't have an avatar or
Yeah.
an identity for this guy. What was his strengths? What was his pay going to be
Sure.
even? Um, where were we going to look for him in these places? And I think that a lot, especially us smaller into like, the vehicle wrap industry is a very new, fresh industry. So
Sure.
like a lot of people are very young. They're, you know, sub $1 million. They probably just getting to where they can afford, a Rockstar,
Sure.
specifically in like let's just say operations, something that is a skill that's across the board that's not very niche into the vehicle wrap industry, would probably be like one of the first big key roles that they would hire. You know, What would you say would be some good tips or pointers if somebody was looking for either like a logistical or operational type person to organize and structure their business essentially? Because I think most wrap shop owners are going to be installers.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be, they can't run and organize the business while also installing.
Installing.
That requires a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
Um, and typically they're not very organized. They're more artistic in many cases.
Sure.
So what could somebody that has high skill proficiency as a technician,
Mm-hmm.
sub 5 people, but they wanted somebody to almost be like a partner, but not equitable,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
that's what an A player is going to do for you,
Yep.
right?
Sure.
So how should somebody prepare for a role like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually worked with Dan on this. So I took a look at his job description first and foremost because he had created a general job description. I looked at it and the first question that I asked him was, "What makes you different from the shop down the street?" And then we put some words together and kind of, made a word play on that. And that went into the job description. So you really want to explain what you're actually looking for in that individual. And it can be tough because this is the first time that you've hired someone like this. But you want to look at what your day to day looks like for the last week and then identify the areas that you don't like doing, identify the areas that you kind of scratch your head about. Maybe it's financials, maybe it's dealing with customers, whatever it might be, sales, marketing, and then jot everything down, over the course of a week. And then identify what makes your shop different and what are probably the three key points of what makes it a nice place to work or a great place to work. And then you compile all of that and you can basically put that into, a chat GPT format or something like that to create a job description that's actually going to describe what you're looking for in an individual and attract the talent that you need. But I have a job because talent isn't necessarily just going to come through applications. Talent A and B talent is working in
At a
most
job
cases.
already.
Yeah. So you have to structure a plan and structure, you know, a package for that individual that is going to stand out compared to what they're already doing. And as you mentioned, a partnership without equity, I always look at profit sharing first and foremost and building off of what you already have going. So you don't necessarily bring someone in and just give them 30% of the profit or whatever the case may be. But if that person is going to be influential in the growth of your business, I would absolutely look at where your baseline revenue is currently or where your profit margins are and build off of that so they can take some sort of profit share on what they help you build in the future. And I think that isn't being done all that often with shops. And I think that could be something that a lot of shop owners could do a little different in getting an A or B player in the door that's actively working for another organization at the time.
Yeah, I think that's how Dan attracted his guy. And I kind of want to talk about this. I mean, you probably see this a lot, but this is a real scenario in our industry that I know about. So I'm kind of bringing it to light. Essentially, this guy came to work for Dan.
Mhm.
Dan pitched him an offer. I want to say, you know, it was in like the 70s for this person
Sure.
to essentially run the business. Like all the things that he was doing all day, this guy was going to do. This allows Dan now to focus on sales, acquiring new customers, auditing the install team, making sure that they have what they need to
Sure.
succeed, but the operations, talking to the customers, being the guy when somebody has a problem, he doesn't have to deal with
It
it.
doesn't have to deal with it. Yeah.
But this guy happened to have skills in data analysis. Hey, what's the buy cycle for our customers?
Sure.
Who this guy buys almost every 2 years. Like we're coming up on 2 years. We're gonna reach out to him, etc. So this guy's intelligent as heck. Like I think he got a rock star.
And another thing to mention on that is he didn't come from another shop.
No.
He came from a completely
And I
different
think that's
industry.
the illusion that we have because my operations person did not come from our industry
Sure.
either.
Yep.
Ran hospitals and then a Sky Zone trampoline park. They ran 14 of those and now they run a wrap shop. So,
Sure.
I think a lot of technicians, people that work with their hands think, oh, I do this art thing. Nobody can do that like me. But business fundamentally is the same across the board.
Sure. Yep.
So this operations role, there's a certain level of intelligence that they need for the industry, but a lot of what are your expenses? What is your income? What's cash flow? Stuff
Sure.
like this. I mean, you're going to be exposing some stuff to somebody, especially if you're doing profit share.
Sure.
You have to. You have
Yeah.
to be very transparent.
Yep.
But this person, he was in the 70s. I don't know exactly what the deal was, but I
Sure.
believe there was some form of incentive package of like percentage of revenue increase or profit share, etc. And then the guy got hit with a counteroffer from his primary person of interest, which I'm sure you see a lot when you're
All the
placing rock
time.
stars because it's a
All the
competitive
time.
field.
All the time. Yeah.
You're a guy and he gets drafted around sometimes.
Yeah. Sure.
So he left, went and worked for, I think it was probably like $20,000 more for somebody else.
Yep.
What should you do in that situation if that's your person?
Yeah. So, I mean, to get ahead of it, it's always good, especially if you know you're pulling someone from another job. So, like my first couple sentences out of my mouth with, a potential candidate that we're pulling from an organization is talking about a counteroffer, and just understanding first and foremost, and this should be done during the interview process, but why are you even talking to me at this point? Because there's going to be some keys in there that you can pull out and come back to that if Dan's situation happens after the fact, after he's already been working for
Yeah.
the organization and so forth. I always try to circle back around on those items that the individual is initially discussed with me. Well, I mean, I actually have created multiple printouts for my candidates that I send over as soon as we're done with the qualification call. I'll shoot those over about counter offers and how they don't usually work out. And if their current company wasn't necessarily bringing them to the status that they want to be at and they're actively looking or passively looking, then why does it need to be them leaving in order for their current company to come back up and meet their expectations while we're trying to meet their expectations right from the start and give them a better situation, while their active company is essentially playing catch up or realizing that it's really hard to replace a rock star. So I always try to, and it's very easy to find. You can find articles all over about counter offers or utilize again. Again, I always kind of come back to this, but ChatGPT is a great place to get this kind of information. Create, some bullet points about counter offers and why it's not good to move forward with them or whatever the case may be. But I always try to determine that up front during the interview process on why they're even entertaining this opportunity, and then come back to that in discussions if that ever does come up in the future.
Yeah. So in this case, the person left and came back 2 months later.
Exactly what the articles that I'm sending over, because there's a reason for that.
The culture wasn't what they wanted.
Sure.
They believed in the vision that they were hired for in the first place,
Sure.
of Dan's vision for the business. They were actually really intrigued by our industry, which is actually a really cool highlight, that we are in an interesting business. It is new, and the growth potential, like the guy started researching, like what is the growth potential per year, what is the projected opportunities over the next 10 years for this industry, and it's like, wow, like this is actually a legitimate
For
industry.
sure.
So, there is a lot of money to be made, and I think that we've only just barely hit the cusp of it. So this guy was smart enough to do his own research, and
Sure.
he's like, you know what, I don't mind being a pioneer a little bit
Yep.
in this area. But I think what stood out to me the most was that he came back on a pay cut for culture.
Yeah, for culture. That's another thing to make note of is, especially on the smaller shop side of things, this individual's coming in and they can basically create their own plan within the organization. So they can help the shop owner really create the environment that they want to work in. And I think that needs to be highlighted in conversations if you're trying to pull an A player out of a different industry altogether or another shop, whatever it might be. You really want to highlight that when you're speaking to them. And again, this is all during the interview process and presenting your shop and the opportunity for growth, especially if you're doing some sort of profit sharing plan, attached to the role, whatever that might look like. It could just be a commission plan altogether off of jobs, or I don't know how you guys are necessarily broken out per job, but there's a lot of different creative ways that you can entice someone to at least start having the conversation. And then if you present yourself well, that will go a long ways for sure.
What are the biggest killers for A players?
Culture's one. Culture, pay. Pay does come down to it. A players are going to create their own pay. And one thing that I struggle with as a business owner as well is, the upfront pay, the upfront costs as a small organization. It can be daunting at times, but the multiplier on a good employee or a partner, whatever it might be, is astronomical. I mean, it's through the roof. Versus a C player, where just kind of kicking the can down the road, and he's okay. He might not hit the numbers every month or whatever it is, but he's not bad enough to get rid of. I mean, that's holding your organization back. So I think if you really identify that person and you got to invest in them, and give them the opportunity to grow, because I mean, A players want to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day. So if you give them an opportunity to grow and allow and don't put any restraints on that, I think that goes a real long ways. But those two are really the main two that I see. I just had a situation recently with an organization, and a 20 plus year manager, and he went into the organization and he saw immediately that it just wasn't for him. And it was just because there was a couple items, but one of the main ones was it just wasn't well kept up. So I mean, it's hard, and I feel this as a small business owner myself, but it's hard to have that capacity of like, we're better than the guy next door, or it's hard to portray that, I guess, in conversations at some time. But present yourself the best that you possibly can, and allow them to understand that the opportunity is, the growth opportunity is there for the individual. And I think you can win over some individuals to at least, I mean, you got to remember that the employee or potential employee is giving you a shot just as much as you're giving them a shot, especially an individual that is good at what they do and is actively working. Because people at the end of the day don't like change, right? So,
No.
so you got to really make sure that you're structuring something that and identifying through conversation what makes that person tick.
So, because small businesses are typically like running at the seat of their pants, would you also say that a lack of organization or a lack of process would be a kill for an A player? Or would
Yeah,
you,
that that's a possibility, but you could turn that into, hey, here's our downfalls. And we're looking for someone like you to come in and help with this. And I'm going to give you full responsibility in order to handle that. So if, a lot of A players like that.
plays
So, I
off their
mean,
ego almost?
what's that?
It kind of almost plays off their ego a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
you would make massive impact in this company because this is why I need you.
Why? Yeah,
Not necessarily, I think a lot of us, we were talking about today about having like the perfect process in place before we go get the person.
sure.
But we never get to the process because we're too busy doing the thing that's,
That you need the person for.
we're too busy doing all this other things. Like our bandwidth just isn't there.
Sure.
And, we think we're going to sit down that day and then all of a sudden we got a fire in the back, or whatever it may be that we're working on. So I think it's a very interesting perspective that a lot of us don't consider as entrepreneurs, that you can delegate even the processes in your business
Sure.
for the right person.
Yeah, for the right person. Yeah, exactly. And it comes back to understanding what you really need in that individual. And every business owner is going to be a little bit different. You want that person that you're hiring to play off of your limitations versus your strengths. That number two is crucial on a business growth for sure. And again, I mean, you get into technicians, it might be a little bit different, but I primarily focus on higher level placements. But yeah, it does. It's definitely crucial to understand where you or what you need out of that individual, and yeah, tap
But
into their ego a
because
little
you've
bit.
even placed like, we've been talking about operations the whole time, but like, let's
Mm-hmm.
say you are actually really strong in operations,
Mm-hmm.
but you suck at money management.
Sure.
Do you feel that it's worth placing even in a small business? Do you feel that it's better to do more of a fractional,
Yeah.
like accountant type person to really modify? Let's just say like, okay, they're in the million, because at this point, like I would say about a million's when your money starts to get really weird.
Sure.
And if you don't really watch it, it's just gonna go out the door.
Sure. Yep.
Like it does the whole time, but it gets really bad around a million. So a million to three, you're growing, but operationally you're doing great, but like profits just sucking.
Sure. Yeah, I would start with a fractional CFO route. I mean, that at least it gives you, in a lot of them, I would, I actually just did this myself. I looked at all the options, and a lot of them are willing to go in and just do a 4 or 5 hour session or an 8 hour session with you and just to run through everything with you and just give you a high level outlook of like what you can change and how you can go about that, which is much cheaper than bringing someone in-house. From a financial standpoint, though, my suggestion would probably be starting with more of a bookkeeper with an accounting background, or maybe some financial analysis background, which there are plenty of those individuals out there, and they aren't necessarily all that expensive compared to bringing in an in-house CFO or a controller or something of that sort, which $1 million business probably doesn't need at that point.
Yeah.
But at least to keep a set of eyes on the numbers on a consistent basis, on a daily basis. But me personally, I would start with setting up a session with a fractional CFO and spending a little bit of money to identify your shortfalls, and then take it from there. And if it continues to be an issue, I would start at maybe a lower level finance person versus bringing someone or just working with a fractional CFO on a monthly basis. But they can get expensive as well. So.
I didn't really know what to define it as, but I think a financial forensics type person
Sure.
would be
Yeah.
strong for that.
And there's a lot of, I mean, now with the AI situation, I mean, that's who's getting replaced, is those analysis people, because it does such a good job at analysis. So there's a lot of those individuals that are available right now that are great at what they do. But they're, more or less, especially at the larger companies, are getting replaced with, they're laying off quite a few individuals in finance departments just due to that.
Speaking of layoffs, I mean, is that what you're seeing a lot of? Are we in a phase of layoffs, or are we?
I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, yeah, I mean, you read about it every day. I still think that it's still on, it's the business side is still running the game. I don't necessarily, I I do see a lot of talent out there, but uh, basically about the same as it's always
I was
been. It's
just
not
curious.
like an
I was going to make a
abundance of
point
talent.
about the talent was like sometimes your downturns, like being ready, like we were talking about at the very beginning,
Sure.
just being ready for somebody. Like the reason why you should have kind of a nest egg of cash is downturns means people are losing their jobs, and it's even easier to
Pick
get
up
the rock stars, your
yeah,
AB players,
sure.
because somebody else wasn't prepared for it. And they're like, "Man, you're my biggest salary. Like I love you, but like
It's usually who goes the first.
the biggest ones
Yeah.
because it's the one that really shouldn't let go, but they just it's the simplest answer on their ledger. They're just like,
Yes. Every
okay,
time.
bye.
Yeah, every
And
time.
so, there's a mass of talent whenever we have downturns where it's just like, okay, let me just grab that guy. You don't even have to compete now.
Sure.
And you get a little bit of a wedge gain because they are in a reactive state.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you could get them for, a little bit less even,
Less than
and grow
what
into as an incentive platform,
exactly.
which gives you leverage as the owner.
And that brings up a great point, is like how you position yourself for the downturns, how you position yourself now, even for positions that you aren't necessarily ready to move on, or you see, 6 months down the road or a year even down the road. I would suggest starting to actively interview, and just have that in mind. I also would suggest, utilizing, and again, the shop world's a little different, but things like LinkedIn and making connections, identifying who your competitors are in your area, what type of companies that you would like to pull talent from. Could be big, could be small, could be out of your industry, could be in your industry, and just start connecting with people. Very easy to do. I use a platform by the name of Dripify. And Dripify, basically, you can put in searches into this platform, whatever it might be. Let's just say you're looking for an operations manager. You put in operations manager and wrap or body shop, or anything close to it, shop in general, and then you can create a list that you reach out to, and then every day you connect with 10 new people, and if you're doing that in your area, and then you can start becoming vocal, like, hey, we're looking for an operations manager, and now you have all these connections in your area of your not necessarily avatar, but companies and individuals that you've identified that may work for your situation, and you've now created your own little ecosystem that you can reach out to. And I'm sure you guys, I mean, may have something different, but
No, we have no process, and that's
yeah,
why I wanted to talk. Like,
yeah.
literally, my next set of questions would be like, where are some great places until somebody can acquire your
Hmm.
services per se for like, okay, we really need a savage, like we got to
Sure.
headhunt this guy.
Yep.
Um, what are some resources? So LinkedIn,
LinkedIn is pretty much where we go to get the heavy hitters and you actively start just communicating with them. Uh, it has a lot of different functions when you start getting into LinkedIn Recruiter, which is pretty pricey. I wouldn't necessarily suggest that, but you can also pick up, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which has a search tool in the system, or a Dripify. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is like $100 a month. It's pretty cheap. And then Dripify's, I think, like $30 or $40 a month. Indeed's great. I think like at the shop level, Indeed is where a lot of talent hangs out at this point. Um, you know, those are really the two main ones at this point. There's a lot of other functions and platforms out there, but like at the end of the day, they're usually taking their data and running it on either, you got ZipRecruiter as well.
yeah, I use WiseHire a lot.
WiseHire is another good one, and that was what Dan was using. I was really impressed with that. I had never used that
Yeah,
before, but it also has the analytics and indexing that's attached to the job descriptions.
that's
I think
what's
that's a great
crazy.
place. Yeah. Yeah. He was getting some, I ran through, he had like 90 applicants at one point. I ran through and kind of shortlisted a few for him that I thought would align with what he was looking for. WiseHire is a great place. One thing to note though is a very easy thing to do is you can post on Indeed for free.
Right.
So, like, I would constantly have a posting. Once you kind of identify, like what we talked about earlier, what that posting consists of, what you're looking for, I mean, it's free. I just post, and then you constantly you can start creating a database within your CRM or wherever it's easy to save, or just a folder or a file on your computer, and just drag resumes in. And then once you see that one, make the phone call and connect with them, and start discussions. But I'm a big believer in actively pushing your connections on a professional platform like LinkedIn, just
Yeah.
for a rainy day. That goes a long ways for
Like
sure.
for anybody that questions the effectiveness of LinkedIn, listening to you talk about professionally how you basically you'll have a lead or somebody that posts a job application. So and then they're like, we need X. You're like, no problem. And you're like, it's like a cold lead in a way because like
Sure.
you're cold selling that person,
Yeah.
but you're like, go to LinkedIn. Let me go hunt down all these avatars.
Sure.
Okay, let me profile them, and then okay, these don't work, these do, and like that's literally all you do all day is just
Pretty
scan
much.
profiles
Profiling.
on
Yep.
LinkedIn. So if you want to hack, the pros are using LinkedIn to hunt rock stars.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
have never logged into LinkedIn and done anything with it hardly.
Yeah,
So
and most shop guys don't. I mean, that's where it's going to be difficult. But another thing to note, and there's other systems out there like Seamless AI, for instance, or Zoom Info, which is very expensive, but Seamless AI is pretty reasonable. I think it's like $1,000 or $1,100 a year for the system, and you can look up and get contact information for every competitor out there. So, I mean, if you want to go into shops, dealerships, whatever it is, in your area. You can hop on that and you can populate lists, and then you can put it into your CRM into Torque, and then you just do reach outs. Now, the issue with that, and I try to kind of stay away from that for sourcing per se, but it's usually their business contact information and business emails. So it's about how gritty do you really want to get. But there are some personal emails in there. There are some personal cell phones. So it's just another avenue that we go. We utilize it mostly for reaching out to hiring managers to see if they're willing to work with us.
Right.
But it's another avenue that we do use. For finding talent as well.
If you really want them, you'll message their business email.
Yeah, and another thing to note on that is like Seamless comes with all of their LinkedIn URLs.
Really?
So you can take that, you can drop, you create a list within Seamless, you download the list, you take that list, you put the CSV into Dripify, and then it automatically connects everyone with you, and you don't have to do anything other than just take that CSV, and then Dripify, you can set up automatic messaging, just like a CRM, and it just touches them, likes their stuff, whatever, and works pretty slick. So, I'm consistently adding URLs to my Dripify account for hiring managers. You can just as easily do that for talent as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you churn data like nobody I've ever seen before.
Yeah, I got a lot of.
I like nerd out on a lot of things, and you're like, yeah, we had like 7,000 today.
I got to talk to you about what we're gonna do with all this data because it's getting intense.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, the good news is it sounds like it's in a very, economy's in like weird
It is in a weird
states
spot
where
right
it's
now.
like, seems like these guys are here crushing it, like record months, all this stuff. These guys over here is like, man, like this is the worst time ever. But I kind of feel like the difference maker is the people who are waiting for business or like actually hunting business. The hunters right now are dominating.
For sure.
And it's because I think what's happened is we've kind of gotten back to a time that business has gotten back to normal. Mm-hmm. COVID was easy.
Sure, 100%.
Work was just coming to you.
Yeah.
It was just
for everyone.
fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
Now we're actually having to go track something down, hunt it down, stalk it, hope it doesn't run away, and with that though means that your competitors might be fishing and hoping, and like you right now in these times need to be positioning yourself to get rock stars. Like I can tell you, after hiring a bunch of people, once you hire rock stars, you're almost like, I don't want to settle for another C player at all.
Sure.
And Trevor I loved his metaphor today that he's like, basically when you hire a rock star, the conversation we had was basically, I don't know how to hire these people. They do jobs that I don't understand.
Sure.
They're better than me at that. And that's weird for a lot of people. There's a certain sense of pride as a business owner. I should know how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're better than you. And the metaphor for the people that weren't here was essentially, it's like I sit on my back porch and I look at my great steed running across the field. And it's like, that's an amazing trot. That is a great looking horse. I'm excited that I own this, right? But if it's just kind of like a donkey running across the field, then like, it's like, man, I need to go get the real
inside.
I need to go hire again.
Yeah.
He's like, you'll know when you find the right person just because they're self-driven, self-motivated. They're going to bring better ideas to the table. They're going to essentially be a lot of the things that entrepreneurs are.
Yeah.
They just don't want to have the
want
risk
The risk attached
of
to
the
it.
entrepreneurship.
Sure.
And there are a lot of people that are out there that are willing to do that, and they're possibly working in a place that they're not appreciated at.
Sure. A lot are. And, you give them a touch of, and I'm not saying this from an equity standpoint, but ownership in their processes, ownership in the organization, and the people that they manage. That goes a long ways, because there are a lot of shitty businesses out there.
There are.
And you know, there's a lot of A players that are hanging out in that business that just, again, it coming back to like, change is tough. People don't necessarily like change, but if you're actively pursuing and setting yourself up for that rainy day, or for when that time comes when you need an operations or a financial or CEO, whatever the case may be, uh, you know, once that conversation starts, and they're kind of, that's when the magic happens. You know, they might not necessarily be looking on the job boards, out on Indeed looking, you know, applying, whatever it might be. But if you hit them at the right time, and if you're always there and you're connected with them, and so forth, uh, it will go a long ways for sure.
I mean, it almost feels like hiring is marketing, just
100% it
different.
is. Yeah, 100% it is. And yeah, it's like, how do you market your organization? Um, you know, what are some factors that make you better than the guy down the street? And you always want to be putting that out there. You know,
I think
as
we just wait too much until we need it, or we think we need it, but you're already really 3 months too late.
for sure, for
And then
sure.
you said, I think that's like a pitfall in itself. You wait 3 months and then you hire the most convenient
Convenient
person.
person, because you don't want to waste all the time because you're already behind and you're,
Yeah. And
yeah,
then you guess
it's a
what?
vicious life
Convenience
cycle.
starts with a C. So it's a C player, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, if you, and then a lot of us, because we have that methodology, you, if you had a backlog of talent, like let's say if we actually treated hiring like marketing and you had a backlist of 10 guys that were like all equal,
Sure.
and then all of a sudden this guy that's working at your place starts acting up or not showing up on time,
Sure.
are you really going to keep him if you had a backlog of people?
Never.
Never. It would be such an easy decision. The reason why we're like, he'll
Yeah.
change,
You have
he'll
no
get
one on the
better,
back burner.
is because we don't have anybody on the bench
For
to
sure.
replace him with.
Yeah.
And, you know, so they kind of have you bent over the barrel. Like
Yeah.
you need to be constantly looking for somebody. And I'm bad about it because like I love my team. I got like all rock stars right now, I feel.
Sure.
But that could change in one day.
Yep.
It could even be on a good term of, hey, my spouse had an opportunity, it's their
Sure.
dream.
Yeah. We're
I can
moving.
get a job over there. She can't, like,
Yeah.
this is, I have to go. Like, that does happen.
Yep.
Guess what?
All
If
the
you ain't got a
time.
bench,
Yeah.
done for.
Yeah, it goes a long ways. I suggest everyone, even though it's a pain in the ass, is always be interviewing. Always be interviewing, always be having conversations. Not necessarily, you know, you don't have to have the you know, the interview where you bring it in and dog and pony show per se, but you know, having conversations, you know, grabbing lunch, whatever it might be, but keeping in touch with those bench players, keeping in touch with those individuals that you'd be interested in working with at one point or another. So I definitely always be pursuing talent, because, like you said, things can change pretty quickly,
And
especially like a shop of 4 people. I mean, 25% of your staff leaves. That's a big chunk.
yeah, it's massive.
Yeah.
And especially in a newer industry, it's a very awkward industry to hire for. It's not impossible,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of training.
Sure.
It's not your normal thing for sure. And we're incredibly empathetic to it. That doesn't mean that it's impossible though. So, last question.
Okay.
How much, I feel like a lot of people try to hire, they hire one person and they just give up.
Sure.
I tried.
Yeah.
And there's like this like defeated thing. But how much is hiring a skill?
Oh, it's a skill for sure. You know, I can find people pretty easily for other organizations, but hiring internally, I mean, I struggle with it myself. Hiring is an absolute skill, but it takes practice. It's just like anything else.
And so you have to do it.
You have to do it. And you can't give up if one doesn't work out, because in some cases it might take you five to really find that person that you groove with, and that like really is pushing the needle with you. You know, there's a lot of talent out there that's not really all that special by any means. You know, the good majority, I mean, just like any humans, I mean, you look at, it's just, you know, the majority is average at best. And so finding that, it's the same with hiring. You're going to go through maybe some average at best individuals before you find that one person. So you know, it is a skill, and that's why I say interview all the time, get better at it, identify the shortcomings of the individuals that didn't necessarily work out for you, and don't repeat the same mistake over and over again. Don't go with the first person unless it feels right. You know, interview, I would suggest, if as I mentioned earlier, you got to be quick, but you know, set up 10 interviews for one spot, especially if it's a crucial spot for your organization. Talk to 10 different individuals before you make a decision. You want to make that in a short period of time. Maybe you spend an entire day interviewing, and like you just set up the day and block out
It's a
6
hard
hours.
day.
It's a hard day. It's mentally stressful. I mean,
10
like it's
interviews.
mentally taxing, I should say. But
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't go with the first person that applies or the first person that you start conversating with. I would take a little bit of a step back and identify, you know, I often, you know, coach managers on like, well, you know, why did you choose this individual over the others, and really get down to the bottom of why our candidate was a no in most cases. Is like, you know, I'll go back
Hmm.
and say, well, where did we miss? What did we see? And in a lot of cases, you know, it comes down to a personality and price. Price is usually you know, what the first thing the manager says is like, well, we interviewed 5 people, and the candidate that you presented was looking for, you know, 10, 15K more than the rest. And we felt like this individual would do just as good of a job, and they were at 10K less or 15K less. So it is an art. I think as time goes on, you will get better at it with
Yeah.
practice. And yeah, that's,
I think that's just the thing, is the emotional toll that you were wrong. Like, it's
yeah,
like,
you got to leave
y-
ego out of it.
I like those guys so much. They have so much potential, and then they don't perform, or they don't do something, and then you kind of question your own sanity of like, how come I keep choosing the wrong guy?
Wrong guy, yeah.
But they're also putting their best image. Like, they could be the fake whatever it is because they're protecting their own resources too.
Sure.
We don't know their situation.
Yep.
And but you need to have high standards in place of what is expectations for week one, what is expectations for week two. And you just, as long as you hold them accountable to that, then, you know,
You're going to find out very quickly.
very quick.
Yeah.
I like putting high pressure on people.
Yeah.
First 30, 60
See how they
days
feel.
are cooked. Like, they are so pressured.
Yeah.
But if they can make it through that and then show consistency, I think it's much better than babying somebody on the front end, because a lot of times we baby and then we baby for too long, and then
they're
they get
used to it.
used to it.
Yeah.
And then you up the
That's the
standard and they're like, man,
expectation.
I liked this job before, but all of a sudden this got really hard. And, so I think it's important to keep hiring. I personally can't hire, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I had to find somebody to hire
Sure.
for me because I tried to always save people.
I'm right there with you.
And I always, I'm the kind of person where I had finally one opportunity. And I feel like I can be that one opportunity for a lot of
A
people
lot of
too.
people. Same here.
Like I know
Yeah.
that the business is offering an abundance of opportunity. I know the vision for the business. I know that I'm willing to give opportunity to people.
Sure.
And some people still don't take it. And that sucks.
You also want to remember that usually during that interview process, they're putting their best foot forward.
Hmm.
So if it's not even in the the aspect of like, yeah, I really like that person. Like, I think we would mesh well. I think that would help with the team. If you're not getting that warm and fuzzy, like for maybe a second interview or whatever, if you have, you know, 3 or 4 individuals that you like and to really identify who you want, like if they're putting their best foot forward and you're like, nah, I mean, just move on. Like
Don't
there's
even
there's
bother.
there's plenty of fish in the sea at the end of the day. There's plenty of talented people out there looking for work. There's opportunity everywhere you look, and there are people out there looking for an opportunity with an organization. So definitely keep that in the back of your head when you're speaking to someone and thinking, you know, your voice in your head saying it's probably not the right person. Then don't go against that voice.
See, my problem is my voice is like, this person's perfect. I know I can fix this
Fix them.
guy.
Yeah.
They're a black sheep like me.
Yes.
Like,
And I come from the same thing, and I deal with the same issue myself. Yeah.
and it sucks because like, especially like in the rap industry, I really feel that most of the technicians were like the odd man out, um, misunderstood,
Sure.
a lot of things. Like we were very creative people, um, very artistic,
Yep.
willing to work really hard, all this stuff, and then like you see that and like you know it, and there's like two different types of people. There's people that's willing to give it, and there's people that are scared to give it away because like they feel like they're losing something with
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
But I think this will be incredibly valuable. I mean, I learned a lot about LinkedIn. I don't use the dang thing at all because I just thought it was robots, but apparently it's not.
No, no, not at all.
There's a massive ecosystem over there.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of talent, and you know, I mean, it's a personal messaging system for individuals that are working that basically showcase their resume, and you know, they may or may not be looking, but at least you can connect with them,
At least
and
you know they exist.
yeah, yeah, they're
And they know
there.
that you exist.
Yep.
And that one day that boss just had a bad day and comes yells
Sure.
at them and they said no more,
Yeah.
you'll be first to top in mind.
Exactly.
And that's all you need to be doing when you're hiring. So
Sure.
fantastic, Mike. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So hopefully this is
Great
valuable for somebody.
conversation.
Absolutely. All right, guys. See you.